Thank you for tuning in to the Shakaama Live Show with your host, Shakaama. I want to briefly talk about a case that I'm sure a lot of you have seen. It's a case where they have the woman with 12 children from like 8 different fathers or something like that. And the repeated video is that she's saying that somebody needs to pay for these children. Somebody needs to pay for these children. Now, they of course present that as saying, look at these deadbeat dads. All of these dads left this woman, this poor woman with these children. Well, I have more information to that story that you probably won't like. And of course, you'll probably defend. Right? Now, the woman is obviously not sane. And anybody who has any dealings with her are probably not sane. Maybe when she gets around men, she is a completely different person. You know, people can do that, right? They can get around the opposite sex and they're, oh, hi. Are you talking to me? How are you doing? You know, stuff like that. They put on their best foot forward. Well, here's the bombshell. The men tried to sue to get custody of the children. Now, they had to come to terms to sue because the woman is using the children as a meal ticket. I don't believe she's getting any money from the men, because here's her scam. She's getting money from the state in the amount of thousands of dollars. Of course, 12 children, right? If you're going to do anything, $100 is going to be each meal, right? I mean, imagine that, 12 children. So the men tried to sue to get custody of their particular children. Here's the thing. The state said no. Child Protective Services said no. No. Everybody involved with the government said absolutely not. Judges, everybody. So now they keep parading her, just like the Cosby case. The Cosby case has now been going on for a whole entire year. This is ridiculous. It's the gift that keeps on giving. The media is just salivating at the mouth over it. Of course, you all think, oh, this is about some rape stuff. No, it has nothing to do with rape. I already told you. I already proved at least 7 other people a lie. And the person who is now that they're trying to criminally charge him with was also one of the liars that I already did a story on. Proving that she, in particular, was a lie. Come sue me. I'll present the evidence. You can't sue me for truth. And all I'll do is rack up your lawyer's fees because I don't have to pay for mine. So they parade this stupid woman who obviously is insane. She's about to beat up the workers and tell them that they need to pay more. It's a complete racket. Now, they presented, one of the videos have been presented proving that a lot of the men, so-called men who are quote-unquote deadbeat dads, black men are have the reputation of being deadbeat dads, that in fact it's not the men at all. Most of the men in the cases sue for custody, and they will not give it under no uncertain circumstances. The black population was at an 80% child born to 2-parent household in the 60s and before, even all the way up to slavery. But now all of a sudden black men are deadbeat. And I've already presented to you how they do stats. Let's say this woman's name is Shaniqua. That's not her name. Let's say her name is Shaniqua. Shaniqua has 15 children. They count her and each individual child 15 different times. Let's say me and my wife have a child. They count us once. So now, what is the percentage of children being born out of wedlock? Go ahead and do that math. 16 total, 15 out of 16 have been born out of wedlock. What about families? Children born to households born out of wedlock. It's only one versus one out of 2. But they won't count it like that. They'll count the 15 out of 16. That's what they're trying to get at. It's not 80%. It's not 70%. It's still at around about 30%. Now they'll grant that back in the 60s it was 33%, something like that, born out of wedlock. But you fast forward to 2013 and they're counting them each individual child. Now you would say, well, it's true though. it's an individual child, but that's not how you do stats. That's how you do stats if you want to just jack up the numbers on a population that has a very small population. Blacks are not that many people in the United States. I keep telling you. So any stat that involves black people, you're not taking 200 million people and counting them. Nowhere near. Not even close. So any stat that you do like that is going to look terrible. Literally, one woman with 15 children who does the wrong thing can come out looking horrible for the entire race. And then they can say, see? No, you just have that one ratchet woman. And I didn't want to do this because this is about ratchetness. She's a ratchet whore, obvious whore. And then they present stuff like they present mentally disabled black men and say, look, see, he didn't stick by his children. He's mentally disabled. Not every black man is mentally disabled. 80% of the black population is middle class and upper middle class and upper class. 80% of the black population. How is it then that you can wrap your head around saying that 70% of the children are born out of wedlock in the black community? It's an impossibility. So literally it means that the 80% of household, they have what? 1, 2 children? They don't want to count that. They don't want to do household because household, it'll actually probably come out to be like 90% of black children are born to two-parent homes. But with middle class, you still have single black fathers whom they don't want to ever talk about. Single black fathers who, when you study them, are not poor, don't molest their children, don't abuse their children, don't get girlfriends who come and molest or abuse their children. Single black fathers. That stat they never look into. But I just presented it to you. But when you flip it over, black women, single black mothers, most abused, most molested. Out of all the molestation or abuse that will go on in the black population, and don't let the black child go to a foster home, then it really skyrockets. Abuse and molestation. Foster home. I also just got some information talking about the prison population and what's really going on. And they finally came out and said that this has been going on since slavery. So during slavery and Jim Crow, if you did anything to slight a white person, and of course we're talking about the underclass white people. We're not talking about the well-to-do or white people, because a well-to-do white person is going to be surrounded by black people, right? And they're going to see them completely differently than an underclass white person. An underclass white person sees a black person as a threat. And that's because the middle and upper class white people put the underclass white people in those positions where the black person is the threat. They took your job. Not to say that, and of course the mentality is that black people don't have the right to have a job or the right to do work or be productive, because of course the media tells you that black people are unproductive. I work 16 hours, 20 hours a day. I literally don't get sleep. And this is why you see the gray hair coming in that you did not see last year. Entrepreneurs really don't sleep. They don't eat. It comes with the territory. Now, I'm not trying to scare you away. Now, so they put on this, you know how South Park did, oh, they took our jobs. It's the underclass white people who believe that black people took their jobs. So you have black people walking along in public, and the underclass white person. This is a low life, right? A person that ordinarily another white person wouldn't consider even talking to. And the black person has done something human, like look at him because he's moving. When they didn't lynch the person, they threw him in jail. Everybody keeps saying, oh, if the black people just didn't do crime, they wouldn't end up in jail. It seems that we have a dichotomy in what crime really is now, because black people are being sent to jail for stuff that ordinarily is not actually considered a crime. On a federal level, it might be a crime, but not on the state level. Case in point, California. Their idea of marijuana use. And I keep saying 75% of the black population in jail convicted is for simple marijuana possession. I want you to go and look up your state and see, does your state actually throw people in jail for simple marijuana possession? You're going to be shocked that a lot of states do not throw people in jail. They might give them a fine or something like that. But turn that person over to the federal government and it's a federal offense and they go to jail. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? This is what is going on. And then when people say, oh, there is no white privilege, that you just don't have a clue. This has not changed since slavery. There are a lot of people who want to say, oh, well, black people are freer. There were free black people during slavery. Not every black person was a slave. In fact, there were very wealthy black people. Does that sound like something? That sounds like how it's always been. There were wealthy black merchants, just wealthy free black people, period. But they had to do this social thing to keep the underclass white people under their thumb. The Irish, the Scottish came over looking for work. All the black people had their work. So who's at odds? The black slave, the black worker. Skilled labor used to be black. Carpenter, plumber, roofer, the whole nine yards, bricklayer, everything. Black. Then when the white underclass came off of their farms and went to the city, who did they encounter doing the work? Black people. It is insidious. And if you don't realize it and you're white, you're probably among the underclass. I'm sorry to say that. I know it sounds terrible, but it's just a fact. I have no judgments about it. I'm not in any underclass, but I know it exists. I don't like doing videos about black underclass, white I don't like doing videos like this at all. I want to accentuate the positive. But in this case, they are targeting black men and it's full frontal attack. Brazen attack out in the open. The Great Society, started by Johnson, President Johnson, was a full frontal attack to remove the black man out of the household. How do you explain 80% households with a father and mother married the day before it took place? And we come forward all the way to 2013, and we have a whole bunch of women with children born out of wedlock. No father to speak of. Now, here's what you need to ask all of these single mothers. Are you on welfare? Are you on some sort of social program? When this woman with the 12 children came forward, she fought the fathers. She fought the fathers. The government fought the fathers. One of the fathers is actually wealthy. They are not asking him for a dime, because if they do that, this is all a scam. Of course, who's paying for all of this? You're paying for this. You're paying for this. You're paying for all 15 of her children, and for her to be cursing out the workers and all that sort of stuff. That's what you're paying for this. So the rich dad can't get his son or daughter, whatever it is, and all the other men, they all looked middle class. That's what's really mind-boggling. And then she's up in there screaming on TV, I'm homeless now. I ain't got no money. And of course, the story is deadbeat black dad, deadbeat black dad, deadbeat black man. And then they pull up in their Mercedes and Volvo, and they say, okay, once again, I want my child. No, sir, you can't. And in fact, we're going to put a restraining order on you against her and your child. You cannot come within 100 yards of your child. Or are you all hearing this? They don't present that. They present this ratchet woman screaming about she needs help and she has 12 children and nobody will help her. She was kicked out of her thing after months of being there illegally because they can't have 15 people up in a house, in an apartment. I know they're tiny children and they don't take up that much space realistically, but they can't be in a house legally. They'll shut down the apartment complex, and the landlord will be out of a home, because when they get through with her, she'll be fined to death, because the government is so great about that stuff, right? The men sued to try and get their children. This is a racket, and I've heard it more than once that the man tried to get, and I've heard so many women using their children as battering rams, as catapults, anything to fight the man, because she has come up with something in her mind of how life should be. And when you get down to it, when you sit down and talk to her, what her thinking is of how life should be means that she can use her children as a bargaining chip to make lots of money from the state and get secret presents from the man that she now browbeats and makes him feel guilty, although she's not supposed to get anything from the man, because that's what the state said. You cannot have a man in this child's life. Surprise? Are you surprised by that? You can't have a man at all in your life. Now, the original wording was, if you don't have a man in your life, you can get this help, because it's a safety net to catch those who have fallen on hard times. But no, then even the state itself turned around and said, you can't have a man in your life if we give you one red penny. And they're not encouraging the man to be in the child's life. Polite words, they're discouraging the man from being in the child's life. So what is this idiocy about the black man being a deadbeat father? It's all a bunch of lies. Thank you for watching the Shakaama Live Show.